For the Corporate Residential Services Committee to order, as well as the Executive Committee. First, we will start off with our land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the district of Spaghetti, and the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Now I'll be looking for approval or amendment to the agenda of all subcommittees. Moved by Councillor Green, seconded by Councillor Musa. All those in favor? Contrary mind? Motion passed unanimously. We're looking for the approval of the minutes of September 20th, 2022. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Green. All those in favor? Contrary? Motion's passed. Next, we have a presentation from the East Hants Family Resource Center, and I'd like to welcome Kathy McDonald, the Executive Director. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to give you a brief overview of the work that we do and to bring you up to speed on what we've been doing since COVID as well. So Shirley is going to put the slides up for me. So we'll begin with who we are. So we are a charitable not-for-profit that serves the corridor area of East Hants. Now, that said, we do work in conjunction with Kim Barnes and Kids Action in Kennecook and North Hants. And we also work with...
Or just bend the mic down closer toward your face. It's directional there. There you go.
How are we doing now?
That's much better.
Okay. So we do work in conjunction with Kim Barnes and Kids Action in Hants North. If there are programs that they don't have that we do, we coordinate with them and vice versa. We also work with the Musquodoboit Valley Family Resource Center, Memory Lane. So we have worked with Mount Uniacke residents as well. We don't turn anybody away is the basic premise of what we do. So we have clients from Carroll's Corner. We have clients from Fall River. If you are living in rural Nova Scotia, as many of you know, it's probably sometimes easier to come to somewhere that's across a border or closer to, and we have never turned anyone away. So we have also do programming, as we've noted on the slide there, and I want to sort of skip forward to Mummy to Be. I think it's important to note that this is the only free prenatal class that's offered in East Hants and has been offered for the past decade. Public Health has not done prenatal classes for the last 10 years. They will do one-on-ones, but that general prenatal health component is us doing that. And we did not have funding for that for many, many years. We do have funding for that now through Gold Bond Canada for a fund grant that I had applied for. We serve vulnerable families. That was the mandate for us when we were first formed in 2011. COVID has taught us that who vulnerable is has many connotations now. Every family has been vulnerable during COVID. For example, those wonderful well-paying jobs at many places like the airport during COVID just didn't exist. And so we've seen a number of families who would normally donate to us coming to our doors now. It has been a tough couple of years. There's some numbers there as well about how many families that we have served. There are 385 families. That looks low for this year. But what was happening was we weren't having our sort of benign programs that we would do, our play programs, things like that. So we weren't getting together for those kinds of things where people would simply come and play with their kids. I do want to note that in the past year, we've had over 15,000 contacts. And I'd also like to note that we have 4 staff. So if you do the math on that, we have been a pretty busy crowd. We didn't close during COVID. Other organizations such as schools and public health were seconded to do other things or they closed. We stayed open and provided programming. And a lot of things ended up being downloaded on family resource centers across the province. For example, we gave out food. We gave out school supplies. So it's been an interesting 2 years, to put it lightly. So these are the services and programs we provide, and it's not a complete picture because, frankly, I ran out of slide. So I'd like to note that there are a couple of different programs there. Run and Tumble, that's a new program this year. We try to do one new program a year, and we're doing that as a play program at the Dome. So basically, parents, guardians, and kids from 0 to 5 can come and run and tumble in the Dome. The story walks of interest to council might be that we've talked to the Trails Association here and also the Municipal Council department that deals with trails to talk about doing story walks specifically in municipal of East Hants trails that we want to promote. So that'll start again, that'll start in October, end of this month. And we also used to have a splash and play program that we did offering free opportunities to go to the aquatic center. We are trying as much as we can to promote what's in East Hants that families can do in East Hants. We know transportation's an issue, and also we'd like to promote that we absolutely live in a fabulous place to raise families. So let's showcase some of those things. Also up there is Daddy and Me pumpkin carving. It's been Daddy and Me pumpkin painting for the past 2 years because we haven't been able to bring people in. So we've got 25 families that will be doing Daddy and Me pumpkin painting. We'll hand out the pumpkins. Another sort of pivot we did during COVID, I wasn't very comfortable handing knives out the door to families so that I can't supervise, so we're giving them paint. We also do a family literacy day. We also do a spring into summer picnic. If you've driven by the old Elmsdale Elementary School on a certain day in June, you'll see probably about 200 families getting free books, free pizza, playing games, and getting to know each other. As I talk to you right now, my staff is also taking delivery of 42 Nourish Your Roots boxes, which are surplus to that organization. We have connected with 42 families to give those out. That's what we'll be doing today before we go to baby time. So it's a fairly busy place that we work in. We do work with COAT. We're part of the Giving Pantry at Cup of Soul. We work with Schools Plus. We work with both food banks. If there's an organization here, we have probably partnered with them, worked with them, or referred to them. And our next slide is regarding the money. So staffing is, of course, like everywhere, it's our number one expense. Last year it was $168,000. And again, I'll point out that we have 4 staff members, so no one's getting paid tons to work there. We do the work because we love the work. Grant funding is absolutely imperative to what we do. However, there is no guarantee that we will get money. There are a number of different organizations who are wonderful, who are applying for the same money that we are. So it's really kind of a crapshoot as to whether you're going to get it or not. And those funds are actually not growing. There aren't a lot of new fund opportunities out there, so we're all vying for the same money. Fundraising is imperative to what we do. We have 2 fundraisers, a Christmas centerpiece fundraiser, and we used to do a Mother's Day tea that's now turned into a Mother's Day teapot sale. Again, because we can't gather for COVID. So those might, in a good year, probably result in $10,000 to $12,000 in funds raised. Our donations were down by $20,000 last year, which is, again, not surprising. So while we rely on donations as well, again, we can't be sure we're going to get them. Our expenses, everything has gone up. It's just the natural way that it is. However, one of our funding streams has been diverted to COVID support. So I currently have $12,000 allotted to supports to folks who need grocery gift cards or gas gift cards. You can come to our office and get a $20 grocery gift card or a $20 gas gift card. Last month, that $1,000 of gift cards ran out 4 days before the month. So we had to turn people away or give them alternative bags of food that we have, or give them diapers so that the money that they would spend on diapers, they can now spend on gas. This had originally been set up as a program years ago that was to get you to the next paycheck or to get you to the next job. This is now something people rely on because of COVID. You can come twice a month and receive items from us. We also refer to the food banks, giving pantries, and things like that. So again, last month was a hard month because we had to turn people down. And let me just see what's up there. Increasing, we do have a surplus. It's $150,000. I realize that may look like a lot, but in the scheme of things, it's not. If I'm putting $12,000 towards gift cards alone, that's a fair chunk of that money. We also don't know where we're going to end up permanently in the building, and we also don't know what's around the corner, what support our clients might need. We know that there is a number of housing developments underway, so we're going to have several thousand new homes in this community, which is also going to increase the demand on us. We, as I say, serve the most vulnerable, and COVID has taught us that everyone is vulnerable. There isn't a parent out there that gets up in the morning and goes, you know what, I did such an excellent job yesterday, I'm nailing this thing. There is just, every day, someone needs support, and every day, multiple people need support. So for us, we only see that ourselves as a growth industry, and as such, we need to grow our budget. And I think, as you know, expenses of everything, our insurance went up $500 this year. I have to find that money somewhere, and there's no other than the municipality. I have no other option. There's no fund out there for me to go get insurance. There's no fund out there for me to go get computers, office furniture. These are things that we need. So as we grow, our needs are growing as well, and so are the needs of our clients. And I think that's just about everything. I could go on for forever, as some of you know, so I'm just going to cut it off here and ask if anybody has any questions.
Thank you. First up, Deputy Warden Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Kathy. Under the services provided, referral agency for a list of, I guess, interventions. You guys do all that? Mental health and public health?
We do as much of it as we can. We've had training, but we are increasingly asked to do more with the training that we have. So what we are trying to do is bring in those folks who have the expertise. So the Canadian Mental Health Association comes in once a week. Third Place Transition House comes in. Part of my plan for any increased money that I get this year is to have workshops specifically dealing with mental health supports. That has been an avenue where our needs have increased and access has decreased. So we are sort of the first responder to this, I guess is the best way to put it. So we will have people come in and do one-on-ones with us, but a lot of times it's very grassroots stuff. We don't have this training. So we refer, we advocate, we phone these agencies and say, hey, by the way, we still have this client, and they are doing everything that they can do, but the demand is so high.
Just to follow up, I don't see a grant funding increase request. Is that you're looking for an increase in funding, or
Absolutely.
a grant?
Absolutely looking for, but not a grant funding request, because I wasn't sure what that avenue was. So essentially, I thought I'd come here, introduce myself, and then ask for the cash.
Question through you to staff. Is there a grant that they access now that can be increased?
Just 1 second here. Oh, sorry. There we go.
Everyone hear me? Okay, perfect. Through you to council, yes. So currently, the group does receive operating grant of $10,000 through the Community Partnership Fund, and that goes through the staff grant review, and then we bring it forward in February, and as part of the CPF process and budget discussions. So if it was council's wish to look at giving an increase to that operating grant, then we could continue that process, put it through the staff grant review, and bring it forward as part of the Community Partnership Fund process, again, January, February, with budget discussions.
I'll make a motion that we have staff look at increasing the grant to $15,000 in the next review.
Okay, we have a motion to increase, for staff to look at increasing the amount to $15,000. Put forward by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Garden-Cole. Councillor Garden-Cole, you were on before the motion, so I will give you leeway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, yeah, I just wanted to say that, I mean, obviously, the program speaks for itself. The harder the times, the more people are needing it. And of course, as she said, the money is, it's not getting any less. It needs more to run the program, and the program is invaluable. So I definitely support looking at our budget and budgeting for more funds for them. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Rhino, to the motion.
Yes, like clarification. Is the motion to give them 15,000 carte blanche at a next year's budget, or to discuss this? Because I don't like putting a figure on this if we're going to discuss this, because it could end up, could end up being less, could end up being more. And I want I'd like to get clarification before I vote on this to see what the intent of this motion is, because I think there should be a discussion at budget time about different programs and not just one single program and what we can afford. And we all have to keep in mind with the price of heating oil and stuff, this is going to be a terrible hard winter on everyone. And I just don't want to wear ourselves too thin and dedicate money right away.
So correct me if I'm wrong to the motioner, the deputy warden. Your motion was for staff to look at increasing it to 15,000, putting it through the review and bringing it back for discussion.
Yes, but if the motion was to look at increasing the funding, but I can take off the amount and just leave it open for discussion for the next budget. So.
Is the seconder okay with that? Yeah. Okay. Just coming back to you as we do the system here. Give me a second.
So point of clarification, then we are just going to review this at the next budget with looking at possible increase, not putting a dollar figure to it. I just want to make clarification
Yes.
on that. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other discussion, there's a motion on the floor. Question's been called on the motion. Go to the vote. The votes are in. It's passed unanimously. Thank you, Kathy, for your presentation, and stay tuned for the upcoming budget discussions.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time.
Okay. Next on the schedule, be new employee introductions. There are none this month, and there's been no position changes with any employees as well. We're now going to move on to employee recognition, and for this, I will turn it over to Sue.
Good morning, everyone. So there are several on the agenda this morning. The first person on the agenda is Mike Brown. He's celebrating 20 years, and the warden will be presenting to Mike. And there is some information that she's going to disclose here today to celebrate.
Okay, folks, thought it would be easier for me to come down here than hop back and forth, and so we're very happy today to recognize Michael Brown for his 20-year service award. In Mike's role as Waste Management Center foreman, he is responsible for the day-to-day supervision of staff and operations at the facility. He coordinates the on-site activities of various contractors, carries out regular equipment maintenance, provides equipment operation support, and covers the scale operations as well. During his time with the municipality, the requirements related to waste management in Nova Scotia have shifted significantly. Our facility went from a traditional landfill facility where everything was tossed into the ground to a first-generation cell with a proper environmental monitoring program, to a shift again in 2004-2006, where regulations changed again and regular garbage was required to be transferred to a second-generation landfill operation. These changes in regulation had Mike at the front lines of construction of an organics transfer station, a waste recycling transfer station, a residential hazardous waste depot, and more. There are processing facilities he coordinates with, transportation companies he needs to line up to move material, and stewardship program providers to work with as well. All of his efforts at the facility have been focused on ensuring efficient, environmentally compliant, and fiscally responsible management of waste generated by communities in East Hants on behalf of those same communities. As a result of Mike's leadership, the team at the Waste Management Center were early adopters of our INO 5S standards, which resulted in smoother transition to COVID protocols when the pandemic hit. The facility was already following excellent strategies: sorting, setting in order, shine, standardize, and sustain, that allowed the small team to remain operational for the entirety of the pandemic. Given waste management is an essential service, it was paramount to not only have materials collected curbside, but to have a location to bring the material to. Other facilities in Nova Scotia found themselves closed entirely at times due to staffing struggles, but that was not the case for East Hants. Born and raised in Schumannacity, Mike has been an active member of his community. In his personal time, Mike enjoys playing with race cars, camping with his wife and friends, and working on various projects in his shop and helping anyone who needs it. But to know Mike, you know his greatest joy is being a grampy to Hudson, Lila, Harvey, Nolan, and Bowen. Thank you, Mike, for all your years of service.
I just want to thank everybody for all the years. Couldn't do it without everybody here, so it's more of a team, and it's a great place to work and a great bunch of people. Thank you.
Trying to figure out how to stand without my back to a whole lot of people here, so we'll try again. Next on the list, we have Corinne Giles, 15 years of service. We're happy to share that Corinne is celebrating 15 years with the municipality. She started in 2006 as a temporary program coordinator and transitioned into a permanent recreation coordinator 1 year later. A lifelong resident of Schumannacity, Corinne's dedication to her community is evident as she has been part of the Schumannacity Fire Department for 17 years, currently serving as both captain and treasurer. She holds multiple certifications related to her volunteer firefighter training, including medical first responder, level 1 trained firefighter, vehicle extrication, and ICS 100. An avid curler, Corinne is incredibly committed to creating and providing unique recreational opportunities to all residents in East Hants. Corinne has been vital to programming successes such as Learn to Skate for grade 2 students and the new summer floor hockey drop-in for youth. She has also been integral to the diversity and inclusion strategy and was proud to bring inclusion programming to day camp this summer. Corinne is a leader in her field, is incredibly capable, and her calm, quiet confidence is appreciated by everyone she works with. Thank you, Corinne, for everything you do in the community. Don't run away from me.
Let's do one more. We're gonna make it out of here.
As Mike said, it's a great place to work, and I'd like to thank the whole team, and hopefully to a few more years. Don't plan on going anywhere. Thank you.
Next we are going to celebrate 15 years of service for Sue Surratt. Sue has been with the municipality since 2007, starting with East Hants as the accountant and moving her way into the manager of accounting and then, of course, the director of finance role that she currently holds. Sue volunteered for many years in her community of Lance and is an accomplished CPA, having achieved her CGA designation in 2007 while raising her young family, which is no small feat. During her years with the municipality, Sue has shaped many of the programs and services offered by the municipality. Much of her work goes on behind the scenes, in finance or in the support of other department projects. Things like making sure we have a secure accounting system, providing efficient customer service systems, and guaranteeing systems like the bulk water system can bill and provide for our customers' needs are all things Sue does without fanfare. Sue has been instrumental in extending our accounting services to the volunteer fire departments of East Hants, onboarding and setting each department up in the accounting system, and along with her team, providing full bookkeeping services to them. This is very much appreciated by our local departments. For several years, Sue provided leadership to the Occupational Health and Safety Committee and is currently the chair of the SAP Municipal Advisory Group. She is a trained member of our EMO operations group and a valuable member of our senior leadership team. For the last 15 years, Sue has supported our residents, frontline staff, and fire department executives with practical advice, emphatic leadership, and professionalism second to none. For the last 4 years, she has been providing counsel with sage financial advice that is respectful of our policies and our community's needs. And as warden, I thank you for that. Sue has indicated she intends to retire from East Hants in the yet-to-be-determined near future. I won't insist that you stay for another 15 years, but be it known that when you do retire, there will be a large set of shoes to fill. Thank you, Sue, for all that you do, and congratulations on 15 years with the municipality. And I keep telling her she's not allowed to retire, but I haven't been successful yet.
Ooh, that was a little emotional. I didn't think that was going to be. Thanks, everyone. We were asked to keep it short, so I will, because most of you know I'm not really a public speaker. I'm not that comfortable, but I would like to say Kim's not here, and as well recognizing Connie and Kim giving me this opportunity to come to work here in 2007. I was very appreciative, and I have been throughout my career here, and it's been wonderful, and the people have been fantastic. Thank you.
Gosh, where do the years go? Next, we recognize Derek Normanton for 10 years of service to East Hants. And it seems like yesterday it was an introduction of a new employee to me, so time flies. Derek is celebrating his 10-year service award, having served as municipal project engineer throughout that time. As project engineer, Derek is responsible for coordinating and overseeing the completion of engineering studies and approved capital projects. He also reviews subdivision and development applications to ensure compliance with municipal engineering standards. Derek has been a big part of delivering capital infrastructure projects that have been transformational for our communities. He has been the project lead for water transmission main projects that have enabled development growth that the municipality is now seeing come to fruition. He's delivered sidewalk installation projects that improve connectivity between subdivisions and communities. And he's helped deliver unique projects such as the skateboard parks that have been seen very high usage since installation in Mount Uniacke and Lance. Derek has delivered projects continually throughout the last decade while also finding the time to be a positive and active contributor to building a positive work culture across all staff, across all departments. He's been on social committees, He is half of the infamous trivia duo that found a way to keep our staff smiling, laughing, and connected throughout the pandemic. And he is always seeking out ways to support new staff and have a positive and successful onboarding into the organization. Please join me in thanking Derek for his dedication and continuous pursuit of excellence over the last 10 years.
Okay.
5 years ago, I gave a speech and there was a lot of crying and people hugging, and I'm not doing that again. That was just unpleasant for everybody. So I just want to reiterate what other people have said. It's a real team effort. There's no individual at East Hants. It's been a great 10 years. This is a fantastic place to work. It really is. And I can honestly say this is the first place I've ever worked where I've actually made genuine friends at work. It's a fantastic atmosphere. Council, you have some wonderful people working for you. You really do. And yeah, it's just a pleasure to work here. It really is.
And we now have a 5-year service award for Chelsea Mcpherson. Chelsea is celebrating her 5-year service award, having served as a municipal environmental engineering technologist throughout that time. This role is critical for the environmental monitoring of key municipal operations that include municipal drinking water, wastewater treatment, and the operation of the Waste Management Center. As part of water quality stewardship, Chelsea coordinates the Source Water Protection Advisor Committee, while also being the key resource tasked with updating the municipal watershed protection plans. Chelsea also leads the implementation of the cross-contamination control programming that focuses on identifying and addressing risks of backflow events from impacting the quality of the overall drinking water distribution network. Chelsea has set deep roots here in East Hants over the last 5 years, from getting married to buying a home, and now with 2 beautiful young children as well. She is literally living the East Hants lifestyle. Please join me in thanking Chelsea for her dedication to seeing the municipality grow sustainably, vibrantly, and setting East Hants up for a thriving future.
I think you need a minimum of 10 years to eat a speech, so
Congratulations to all those who received awards today, and I will echo what one person said. Yes, we at council are very lucky to have the staff that we have. So, okay.
And just as everyone is leaving, I just reiterate that I just want to thank all staff for everything you do. Council regularly has discussions and mentioning how truly fortunate we are to have the staff that we have working at this municipality. And I just want you to know, I hope you know how good you are, because we know how good you are, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Councilor Rhino?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo the award and sentiments, just to look at this list of people with the years of service they put in speaks for itself. And in the political process between council and staff, we do not always agree. But coming from me, and I pretty well look around this room and speak for everyone, that we have the utmost respect for every hour that you put in the East Hants and make it a better municipality. Thank you.
Next, we're going to have the biannual review of chairs and vice chairs. Shirley, take it away.
Good morning. Per your council procedural policy, it states that council can do a 2-year review of your chairs and vice chairs of some of your committees. Essentially, it's the committees that fall under today, Executive Committee plus Nominating Committee. The other committees of council all have their own terms of reference, and the rules governing those committees are managed under that document. So today, we're taking a look at your chairs and vice chairs for the committees that comprise of Executive Committee and Nominating Committee. There's no changes to memberships due at this time. Those terms will expire in October after we have our election and our new council, which I'm sure some of the same faces will be back, hopefully. So really, staff doesn't have any particular recommendation. This is really up to you folks to have a discussion. If you're happy with your current makeup of your chairs and vice chairs, then that's great. If you would like to make a change, or if you are a chair or vice chair and would like to make a change, it sometimes gives an opportunity for some that haven't had the opportunity to be a chair or vice chair yet to have a 2-year opportunity. So really, it's up to you folks, so we can just open the floor for discussion. There is also another document attached that indicates who the members are on the committees and who the current chairs are. So you guys can just have a conversation and make your decisions.
Okay, we have a few people up to speak. First, Councilor Rhino.
Yes, I would move the current chairs and vice chairs stay in place for another 2 years. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion that the current status quo remain. Seconded by Councilor Tingley. Councilor Green was on before the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be not offering for chair of PAC and I believe fences and arbitration. Number 2, I am not offering on the next election. There's a fine bunch around the table here. It's time for somebody else to get their feet wet, I feel. So I will not be chairing PAC or fences and arbitration.
Okay, I'm just going to relay what Councilor Green said, because for some reason your mic is not working. It said it's on here, but there's no light. There you go.
Hey, try it. Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I will not be offering for chair of PAC, and I believe fences and arbitration. I'm chair of that committee as well. As I say, we have a good bunch of councilors around here. My intention of today is not to run the next election, and it's a good chance for somebody else to get their feet wet on this and see what it's all about. Thank you.
All right. So going back to the original motion, going right back to you, Councilor Rhino, for an amendment.
I'll amend that motion to all the current chairs and vice chairs who wish to remain, that they so go on for a biannual meeting. And other than the ones who don't, then we'd have to elect somebody else. I so move.
Is the seconder okay with that? The seconder, Councilor Tingley, is okay with that. We have Councilor Musa up next.
Yeah, I'm on with Wayne. I think somebody should have another chance. I think we should go one by one. Thank you.
So just to be clear, Councilor Musa, is your intent to resign from your chair duty, vice chair duty, or is it you would just like to go one by one through?
I want to resign too. Yeah, to give another chance to somebody else. So okay. I was in it last year when I was first term. I was very mad about it. So I think everyone should have the opportunity to do it. Thank you.
Planning. Just for clarification, Councilor Musa, would you be wanting to withdraw from Chair of INO and Vice Chair of Planning Advisory, or just the chair seat?
Yeah, both, yeah.
Both of them? Okay. Next up, Warden.
I was just going to suggest, as was part of Counselor Moose's discussion, why don't we just go through the committees one by one and see where they fall, and then we'll know exactly where we're at and what we're looking for. I don't know. The first one would be nominating, if that's okay, and I currently chair that. I'm perfectly fine remaining as chair, but if any other member of the committee would like to chair it, I'm good with that as well.
So before we get there, Warden, we do have a motion on the floor that's been moved and seconded. I will go to
Could I
Councilor.
move to table the motion until we discuss each committee?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the move to table the motion until there's more discussion? Seeing none? Question on the motion to table until discussion is had. Go to the vote. And that motion is passed unanimously. So moving forward from that, we will first look at the nominating committee. Nominating chair is the warden. Members, Councillor Garden Cole, Councillor Green, Councillor Musa, and Deputy Warden Mitchell. Are there any members of the nominating committee? I believe the nominating committee there's positions that are required to be on the nominating committee?
Yes, I know the warden appoints the nominating committee, or we did.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So the warden would be required.
Would be required. Is there anybody currently on the nominating committee that would like to resign the nominating committee? Please make your intention known now.
No, we're not changing committees, just chairs
Oh, just chairs, sorry.
and vice chairs.
Chairs and vice chairs, okay. Who is the vice chair currently of the nominating committee?
There currently isn't one, but
There currently isn't one.
it would be nice to have one.
Okay.
Yes.
So we do require a vice chair for the nominating committee, and if any other members of the committee would like to be the chair. Councillor Green.
I would offer for vice chair of the nominating committee. It's not a very active committee.
Nominated and seconded. Is there any other members of the committee that would like to be vice chair? Seeing none, Councillor Green is now vice chair of the nominating committee. Seeing that there was no other expression of interest, the warden will remain chair of the nominating committee. Now, we have had planning advisory. Councillor Green and Councillor Musa have expressed that they would like to step down from planning advisory. So we will need to have a new chair and vice chair of planning advisory. Councillor Rhino.
I nominate Councillor Hibb.
Councillor Hebb has been nominated. Councillor Hebb has declined. Councillor Green.
I would nominate Deputy Warden Mitchell.
Deputy Warden Mitchell, would you accept the nomination as chair of the Planning Advisory Committee?
I would.
Now we will need a vice chair to help the deputy warden. Councillor Hebb.
I would nominate Councillor McPhee.
Councillor McPhee, would you accept the nomination to be vice chair?
Sure.
Councillor McPhee. Is there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, we'll set that the Planning Advisory Committee will be chaired by Deputy Warden Mitchell, and the Vice Chair will be Councillor McPhee. Moving down to Corporate and Residential Services. Myself as the Chair and Councillor Tingley as the Vice Chair.
You missed I&O.
Oh, so I missed I&O. Thank you, Warden. It's right here written down on my list, and I skipped it. Infrastructure and Operations. Councillor Musa has expressed intent to step down. We will need to have a new chair. Councillor Tingley, what's your intent? Is your intent to stay or to? Okay. Deputy Warden Mitchell.
I'll nominate for chair Councillor Garden-Cole.
Councillor Garden-Cole, would you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Councillor Garden-Cole has been nominated for chair of the INO. Seeing no other nominations, congratulations, Councillor Garden-Cole. You will be chair of INO, and Councillor Tingley will remain vice chair of INO. Moving down to Corporate and Residential Services. If anybody would like to take Corporate and Residential Services, I am willing to step aside. If not, I will remain.
I nominate Council Perry.
I will accept. Vice Chair, Councillor Tingley. Okay. Any other nominations for Vice Chair? Seeing none, Councillor Tingley will remain as Vice Chair. Parks, Recreation, and Culture.
To stay as Parks, Recreation, and Culture.
Councillor Rhino would like to remain as Chair. Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Seeing no other up to speak, Councillor Rhino will remain as Chair of Park, Recreation, and Culture. Councillor Garden-Cole, is your intent to remain? Councillor Garden-Cole would like to remain, seconded by the Deputy Warden. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Councillor Garden-Cole will remain as the Vice Chair of Parks and Recreation. And I believe that is all of the committees that needed to be decided here today. Oh, sorry. There is no change required at this time. However, Councillor Green did express the interest to resign as Chair of Fences and Arbitration, with Councillor Hebb as the alternate. So we will need a new Chair of the Fences and Arbitration Committee. As the alternate. Okay, so congratulations, Councillor Hebb. You are now the Chair of the Fences and Arbitration, but we will need another member as the alternate for that. Are you, sorry, I have to ask. So you are becoming the alternate and switching with Councillor Hebb? Okay. Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Seeing nobody upset about that, we'll make that change as well. We'll flip Councillor Green and Councillor Hebb as Chair and alternate. Seeing nobody up to speak for any other committees, we'll go back to the original motion after the discussion as set. Oh, Deputy Warden.
The Accessibility Advisory Committee, and they meet on the first Wednesday of the month, according to my calendar, and that causes me a conflict with the fire department because that's our business meeting each month. So I haven't been able to make any of those meetings because of that, and I put that forward when I accepted that position. So if somebody else would be the vice chair, that would give them a body that I can't fulfill at the present time, not unless they change the dates. So I'll remove myself from that committee because of a conflict.
Okay, Deputy Warden, Warden Rolson.
Well, before we accept the deputy warden's resignation, I just would ask the Jesse if there's any chance in changing the dates that that committee might meet.
John.
Accessibility.
Perhaps it's John I want then, sorry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there might be. I know there was issue with other members, so, there's no perfect night for any committee, but if that's an issue, we can go back and look and see if we can find an alternate evening.
Yeah. As I'm actually chair of that committee, and right now, with the new committee members, we are trying to iron out a night that works best for everybody. I would ask the beings where we haven't had a meeting for a long time because they've been moved due to conflicts in scheduling, due to public information meetings and members being unavailable. If possibly this could be revisited, if the conflict arises, because I do not believe there's a conflict for the next meeting, is there? Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
What's the date for the next meeting?
I'll just bring
I
it
thought
right
it
up.
was 2nd of November.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the next meeting is scheduled for the 2nd, November 2nd, which is also Wednesday.
Yeah, which is a Wednesday, which is the same time as the NSFM Fall Conference. So it's currently scheduled for the 2nd of November, but that might have to change.
I'll hang in there until they choose an alternative date, but
Okay,
as you know, I can't make that first Wednesdays.
absolutely. All right, now returning to the original motion as made by Councilor Rhino, with the changes after discussion. Is there any further discussion? What? Oh, thank you. Be looking for a motion to lift it. Moved by Councilor Green, second by the Deputy Warden. The motion has now been lifted, is now back on the floor. After discussion, those who wish to remain in the positions have remained. Those who have wished to provide opportunities for others have, and new members have been chosen to fill those positions. So, is there any more discussion? One second. Questions? Warden Rolston. You got me press the button. There we go.
Okay, just for clarification on the motion, could we have that read back? I know that the wording of the motion allows those chairs and vice chairs who are remaining to remain, but I'm not sure if it officially appoints the new ones or not. I just think for housekeeping, we need to make sure that's done.
Okay. Thank you, Warden. And talking to municipal staff down below, it does not. So I would ask.
I move an amendment to the motion.
The Warden is moving an amendment to the motion.
That the new chairs and vice chairs be approved as per our discussion. And do we need those listed again, folks?
That would be Planning Advisory Committee. Chair would be Deputy Warden Norval Mitchell. Vice Chair, Councillor McPhee. Infrastructure and Operations Committee would be Councillor Garden Cole. Vice Chair would be Councillor Tingley. Corporate Residential Services, there are no changes. Parks, Recreation and Culture, there are no changes. And the only change to the Nominating Committee is Councillor Green is now appointed Vice Chair. Oh, and Fences and Arbitration, Councillor Green and Councillor Hebb are switching positions as Chair and alternate.
I move that amendment.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Question on the amendment? the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. Now we have an amended motion. Any discussion on the amended motion? Question has been called on the amended motion. We will go to the vote. And it has passed unanimously. Excellent. Thank you, Sherry Lee. Next, for topic, bylaw F100-8, amendments to bylaw F100, local improvement bylaw, road gap paving. And whenever you're ready, Adam. I know it takes a little bit to get all set up.
First time here. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Today I'm going to be talking about the bylaw amendment for local improvements. In February of this year, Council authorized staff to proceed with the road gap paving local improvement based on option 2, which was presented in the February staff report. Additionally, my apologies. Papers were twisted. So additionally, Council directed staff to draft an amendment to the local improvement F100 bylaw. The report being shared today will outline the amendment to Schedule A and will outline the properties included in the paving project. So within the South Corridor and Commercial Growth Management Area, there are several publicly owned unpaved gap roads. Taking a step back in time, in spring of 2010, a list of gap roads were identified and classified as either unpaved sections of road between paved sections or unpaved dead-end roads within paved subdivisions. Now the question was asked, in the event a petition is raised for one of the identified gap roads, what's the likelihood of it passing? For the gap roads identified, due to small sections of road amounting to high costs for a small number of property owners, it was determined a petition was unlikely to pass via the local improvement bylaw as individual petitions. During the June 2010 council meeting, council moved that all roads be petitioned as one. Per the bylaw, a 2/3 majority vote is required for the petition to be successful. So in the spring of 2011, the petition was carried out and was unsuccessful, with only 25.8% of property owners voting in favor of the local improvement. Flash forward 10 years. In June of 2021, Council carried a motion C21 directing staff to prepare a report on road gaps for further discussion. In January of this year, a report was presented to the Planning and Advisory Committee, which outlined 3 scenarios for funding for the local improvement. From that report, Council approved proceeding with Scenario 2, which involved only true gap roads, including Mackenzie Court and West Court. 3 charge categories, and a municipal lump sum contribution of $150,000, which would come from the paving reserve. On February 23rd of this year, Council passed a motion, C22, for the staff to proceed with the road gap paving local improvement project and to draft an amendment to the local improvement bylaw. In July 2022, letters were mailed to all the property owners identified under Scenario 2, with the intention to provide advance notice of the paving project and related costs. The letters generated a mixed number of inquiries, with roughly 60 calls occurring in the first month alone, nearly half of these occurring within the first week. The details within the letters explain to each property owner the purpose of the project, what they owed, the building process, and how everything would work. Property owners in Category 1 and Category 2 have the option to pay the local improvement loan upfront or annually over a 10-year period through the final tax bill. Property owners in Category 1 or Category 3 would be billed a one-time amount on their final tax bill. And the proposed amendments have been added as Section 10 in the bylaw. So looking at the financial impact, now on the screen you can see that there's the 3 allocations for each charge type. Looking at Category 1, these property owners are going to benefit the most from the paving, but their charges are significantly more, just over $3,800. Category 2 property owners, maybe somebody on a corner lot with not direct frontage. Their estimated charge is roughly $511. And then Category 3, which consists of the bulk of the properties, 742 out of the 834 properties, they're going to receive a one-time charge of $165. So that puts the taxpayer on the hook for roughly 67% of the total estimated project, and the remainder would come from provincial and municipal governments. So today, I'm here to ask you to approve the amendment in bylaw F100, Section 10, and the motion is on your screen.
Thank you, Adam.
Any questions?
Councilor Green.
I would move to recommend the motion.
Moved by Councilor Green, seconded by Councilor Tingley. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Councilor Mitchell.
Yes, it's through you to stop, Mr. Chair. From the letters that you sent out, what are the subtype of comments that came back? I think the one that I hear is just a question of a lien on my property, and it doesn't sound like it's a positive thing to some of them. So, could you give me now some examples of your comments or some of the answers you got back on your questionnaire? Or?
Okay, well, I spoke with roughly 60 in the first month. Roughly a quarter were probably negative. A little over half are neutral, more or less just inquiring. I do acknowledge that the wording of the letter, we've learned from it, and I think we take that and we can apply it to the future to maybe just change the wording a little bit, make it a little softer. But you can't sugarcoat the word lien, so there's no way around that.
Okay, just to follow up, a lien would be on their final tax bill, or the amount would be on their tax bill. If they refuse to pay it, would that trigger a tax sale down the road?
Yes, in the MGA, Section 81, it basically gives council the authority to apply the lien similar to like a tax, and so it would follow suit.
So it could lead to a tax sale on their property then?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to staff. I supported this and do support this. I just had one comment. I regret that when the Category 1, 2, and 3 were made up, that it didn't come back to us, particularly the councils, the councillors that have this paving going on in their area, just kind of for a consult, because there may have been people in the Category 3 that, had we looked at it a little closer, may have been or not been actually considered a Category 3, and they may have been justified in that. And that's just my comment going forward for for next time. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. So, seeing those were the only two on before the question has been called. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed unanimously. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, we are going to have a new asset retirement obligation, PSAB 3280 policy, and Sue is going to provide that to us.
Thank you, Chair. Here we go. So I'll try to keep this relatively brief. Staff are bringing forward this report and as well a draft policy that was attached to the agenda for councillors' consideration. There's a new Public Sector Accounting Board Standard 3280 that has come into effect effective April 1st, 2022. And it's a standard that municipalities are required to follow. It's mandatory. And it is in regards to assets that are being retired that have liability associated with them. And in layman's terms, that means that there will be a cost to either retire or decommission the asset. Examples would be a building that has asbestos in it. In the report, there were several examples for councillors' benefit. At this time, we're not certain if there's going to be a financial impact. I did reach out to the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. They as well are working on the ramifications of this particular standard. All the answers aren't decided as yet. I am expecting that we will have to fund any liabilities that come from this project, but it has not been decided at this point. And so for councillors' benefit, once more information comes forward, I'll bring forward that information to you so that you can have that for your consideration. So just a little bit of background. As I mentioned, it is a new standard. We are obligated to follow it. Staff have initiated a project. We're in phase 1 of the project, phase 1 of 2, and that requires the draft policy, which you have here today, as well as we're compiling a list of any assets that currently would fall under this new standard. And going forward, it would be part of the capital management, asset management project as well, because once we adopt this, it will be something that we'll have to do annually going forward. There's just some information there on what the obligation entails, and also a little bit more detail of what we'll be doing in the next period. I'm expecting to have the listing compiled and have cooperation from and assistance from the managers and directors of the different departments, because the next step, once we have the list compiled, is estimating what that obligation will be. And then following that, we'll have to incorporate it into the next financial statements at year end. It will be part of the statements. There'll be a new note added to the financial statements, and it will be required to be audited by our external auditors, Deloitte. I have reached out to Deloitte, and they've provided me some additional information, and I've also requested a meeting in early winter prior to budgets, so that we can make sure we're on target and that we have a full understanding what's required. And if there's any budget implications at that time, we'll bring that forward. Alternatives, unfortunately, there's no alternative for council to consider at this time because it is something that we need to be in compliance with for financial reporting as well as audits. And it is required for us to continue to receive funding. So there's two motions, one here for council consideration. There's two because one is for the policy. And they're on the screen for your consideration, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, so council or committee, you see the motion that's going to be going forward, I believe, to council policy. Does anybody have any questions on this? Councilor Rhino.
Seeing that her hands are tied, and there's no alternative to this, I guess. Well, I move the Corporate and Residential Service Committee recommend the council give notice of intent to approve the asset retirement obligations council policy as attached to the executive committee agenda dated October the 18th, 2022. I so move.
Moved by Councilor Rhino, seconded by Councilor Green. Is there any more discussion on this? Question's been called. And all votes are in, and it's passed unanimously.
Shirley, the second one is later today.
Both will come, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Sue.
Thank
We are
you.
now just past the time for break, but we will take a break. If that's the will of council, I would say, or will of committee. It is now 10:13. We will reconvene at 10:23 for a 10-minute break. We'll call the meeting back to order as we wait.
There we are. Thank you. Oh, yes, sorry. I thought you guys were in my head. So today we'll be bringing forward a draft recognition policy to sort of go over the entire recognition regime the municipality currently has. In its current form, recognition in the municipality is pretty disparate. It's spread over a range of policies, and there's not sort of one unified, cohesive approach. So that is what we're trying to bring forward to you today. As a result of this policy, we'll be recommending the repeal of 5 other policies we'll go over a bit later. Currently in the municipality, we provide 5 sorts of main kinds of recognition. That'd be resident, support for fire services, volunteer recognition, keys to the municipality, and municipal pins. For resident recognition, that'd be the sort of congratulatory letters, the certificate of achievements that councillors request staff draft and then councillors deliver. And there's sort of 2 policies that govern that one. Under support for fire services, there are 2 sort of subcategories we do for that. That'd be the long service awards. Council recently created a new addition to that program a few months back for the medals and bars of service. Additionally, there's the recognition for businesses. Under this regime, fire chiefs bring forward nominations of businesses that provide material or financial support to volunteer fire services, and then council provides a recognition certificate to them. Additionally, we have volunteer recognition. So that's sort of the annual event council throws each year with the help of staff, and that's currently not covered under any policy. Finally, we have the keys to the municipality policy. This was created in 2006. It has been awarded 1 time. Basically, it is for any sort of individual or group that creates significant goodwill or represents the municipality well, and it requires the approval of 2/3 of members of council. There's also the municipal pin policy that goes, so councillors can distribute pins to delegates or anyone sort of representing the municipality, and the current policy sets a limit on how many pins can be distributed by councillors annually. I will swap over to the draft policy now, and we can have a bit of a look through it. So the new proposed policy, let me go a little. Perfect. The new proposed policy would wrap recognition up into 4 different kinds. We'd have resident recognition, business recognition, fire service recognition, and volunteer recognition. Of these 4 categories, there's nothing substantially changing from it. There's some minor housekeeping changes staff are suggesting, but it's essentially rolling the old policies up into one sort of tighter, cleaner version. For all recognition requests, Section 2 of the policy outlines that 2 weeks of notice are required, so staff have the ability to sort of create the actual item of recognition. For resident recognition, there are congratulatory certificates or letters going out for staff for significant achievements, anniversaries, birthdays, those sorts of things, and these would be awarded in 5-year increments. Additionally, we've put Section 5 in. That's just sort of the approach to the keys to the municipality, how those would be awarded moving forward. Sections 6 and 7 are a new addition staff are recommending. This would expand the sort of resident recognition of significant achievement or events to businesses. So if X business was open for 50 years, council could give them a certificate sort of acknowledging and congratulating them for that. There's currently no sort of approach to this in the municipality currently. Section 8 is also under the business section. It is essentially our fire service recognition for businesses. The regime I described earlier, where chiefs sort of nominate businesses. It's unchanged from the current policy, some minor housekeeping things, but it's basically that whole policy wrapped into here. Additionally, we have the fire service recognition. That's sections 9 and 10. That outlines the municipality's annual or anniversary recognition for long service and volunteer fire service members. So 5, 10, and 30 plus year bars and medals that the municipality awards. We have a new section. Section 11 would outline the volunteer recognition event that we hold annually. Basically describes how we will invite volunteers to be recognized, and we'll select an annual star volunteer each year to represent the municipality at the annual provincial event. Sections 12 and 13 sort of cover any other recognition council might choose to bring forward. So that's section 12. Any member of committee or council could nominate a resident or business for recognition under another type. And then section 13 is just a bit of a cleaning up of our municipal pin policy. The municipality will maintain a stock of pins. Should councillors want to distribute them, they can approach us and we can hand out a stock as we have it, and we'll reassess our stock of pins at budget time each year. Cutting now to the alternatives for this policy draft would be reject the policy draft, keep everything sort of separate and how we currently have it. Also, additionally, we could choose to leave the fire service bit out, particularly the business recognition end of it, or any other direction as committee feels most appropriate. We have a recommended motion including the repeal of the 5 existing recognition policies, and I'd be happy to field any questions you may have.
Thank you. First up, Councilor Rundle.
Yes, so just to be clarified, there really isn't very much change to what's existing now. It's just going to solidify this under one common policy because, you know, especially right around resident recognition. I was the one that spearheaded that years ago with regard to significant birthdays and anniversaries. And I don't want to see that change. I think that is a very, very successful recognition. That people really enjoy that and appreciate that. So I just want to make sure that there's no significant changes to that.
Yeah, for sure. Through the chair, there's no substantial changes to it, maybe some word cleanup. But yeah, there's nothing major in recognition. The draft or the old versions of the policy officially stated we would do 5-year recognition increments. In practice, that didn't really happen. So we're hoping through this policy that we'd go through sort of 5-year anniversary increments, but practice is practice. Addition, the business recognition would be the new addition, but other than that, those would be the only sort of substantial changes.
Yeah, I agree with the 5-year increments, but when we talk about significant birthdays, when you talk about anybody that reaches 90 years old, their longevity is priority, and it would be nice to have that avenue to say, okay, 91 or 92, like we have some leeway there, because I think it's very important to respect our seniors and the number of years that they have been on this earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rhino. Next, Warden Rolson.
Similar to Councilor Rhino, I've always used the 5-year thing as more of a guideline than anything else. When I get a request or I'm made aware of a resident who's 92 or 93 or 80, whatever, and they're having a recognition party or something, I get them a certificate. So I guess, does this prevent me from doing that?
Through the chair, officially yes, but I suppose in practice it could be altered. We could also, committee can amend the motion to add a section that after, say, 80 years, annual certificates could be given. I suppose that'd be your direction.
Okay, and before I make a motion to amend, what about anniversaries?
Anniversaries would be included in sort of significant events.
Do we have a, do we give certificates? I generally give for 50 and above myself. Have I ever given one less? On a very rare occasion, depending on the specific circumstances.
Through the chair, to clarify your question, do you mean a year at which we'd start anniversary
Yes.
certificates? There's not currently a sort of limit in there now, no. Just sort of the 5-year increment. So staff sort of envisioned 5-year anniversary, you could get one, 10-year anniversary, you could get one, that sort of
I
thing.
don't think that's ever been the practice.
But it is a possibility.
I would move an amendment to the motion to allow for certificates for ages, I'm going to go 75 and above, to be at the counselor's discretion.
Moved and seconded. There's someone to speak. Just there you go, Adam.
So for clarity through you, Mr. Chair, so the draft motion that was on the screen, the warden was moving that motion with the altered amendment, as you said there
I was
regarding
moving an amendment to the draft motion.
to the draft. I don't think there was a motion to the draft
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had the municipal clerk looking at it.
My
So
apologies.
and that would fall just.
I would move a change in the recommended motion to allow.
And would you be moving the motion as well with that change?
Sure.
Seconded by Councilor Green. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor now. I'm going to pass the chair over to the warden. This is speaking towards the motion. Currently in practice, I support the warden's motion. However, is there any clause that recognition can be given on the recommendation of a local area councillor? I'm thinking in certain areas that, it might be for a birthday that is significant to a person for a different reason. That could be under the 75-year-old threshold. I know there's a couple residents in my community that weren't supposed to live past 2 weeks, and when they hit their 40th birthday, it's a very significant event that they made it there. So I just want to make sure that there is something in policy, because I know individual counselors, when we approach staff is great, and they never say no within reason. So I just want to make sure that is also captured, that individual counselors have the ability to request certificates for significant offense based on the individuals of their community, beyond what is stated there by the age.
Yes, so through the chair, there'd be section 11 or 12, I can't remember offhand exactly. It's just any sort of other recognition as the counselor feels is appropriate. So yeah, we do outline those sort of one-off events as needed in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's all I had.
Do you?
And now there's other people talk. Councilor Rano.
I like clarification because the way I understood it, the warden moved an amendment to the draft policy. Now, did I catch it right? Now there's 2 motions on the floor with
No,
some other one?
I asked for clarification that if a counselor was still able to put forward put forward somebody for a certificate at their discretion, that falls outside of the set guidelines.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But where I'm confused is the warden moved an amendment to the draft, then didn't I hear somebody
No.
moved and seconded?
I erred when I called it an amendment. What I moved was the motion with the change included in the motion to make it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, Councilor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. So if you've got a former resident who, say, ends up in a care facility that's no longer in our municipality, are they still eligible for these certificates?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Question's been called. We'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed unanimously. Next up, we will have the well and septic report. And I believe we're going to start off with Adam and then go to Nate.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a report that's being brought forward today. Is a very preliminary report. What we heard from some councillors during the PACE program conversations and through strategic plan discussions were that council was interested, or some councillors were interested in us as a municipality exploring more supports for well and septic from various types of programs. So today we're trying to gauge committee's interest in staff exploring it further. We didn't want to put a lot of staff time and energy into this. We wanted to do a check-in. Nathan's going to present his report in a moment here that provides various program opportunities. If committee wants us to explore all of them further, or no, you're not interested in specific programs for us to explore, we'll take those off the table, and we would come back to you with a further, more comprehensive report. So that being said, we'll pass it over to Nathan for his presentation.
Beautiful, thank you very much. So yeah, as Adam said, very preliminary report, just sort of discussing options for you all to consider. So a bit of background to start with. As you may be aware, the installation of well and septic systems can represent quite a financial cost to residents of the municipality. Depending on the design, the site, any range of factors, costs can range from $10,000 to $40,000 even. Previous members of committee and council have expressed interest in providing some sort of municipal support for residents looking to take on these projects. So staff are in front of you today with potential options we could continue to investigate with your direction. There are 3 potential options, and we are seeking your direction today if you're interested in any of them, or sort of which avenues you might be interested in us looking at. Following any direction from council, we would be returning to you with further reports characterizing the exact impacts on staffing, resources, and financial implications of any of these options. Up until 2014-2015 fiscal year, the province had a financial scheme that would provide money to residents to maintain and update their well and septic systems. However, they ended this program in that 2014-2015 fiscal year. The Department of Housing has a variety of grant and loan programs available to residents that may apply to well and septic systems. It would depend on the exact situation. There are also other qualifications, area they might live in, age, income level that could impact their eligibility to receive these types of funding. However, in theory, these sorts of grants and loan programs are available to residents for well and septic programs. In 2015, the province amended the MGA to give the municipalities the ability to create financing programs to provide loans to residents to update their well and septic systems. Additionally, the MGA has also been amended to create wastewater districts. This would allow the municipality to charge a fee from a certain geographical area to provide sewer upgrades to that area. And then with these districts, federal and provincial funding can also be applied sort of locally to them. Municipally, across the province, 7 municipalities have taken advantage of the sort of MGA amendments, creating a financing scheme. This would mirror sort of the municipal PACE scheme, in which we'd provide loans to the residents and they'd pay it back over a set period of time. Funding sort of ranges from $10,000 in most municipalities up to $20,000 in loans payable over 10 years, I believe, in all cases. And some municipalities only provide well upgrades, some provide both well and septic. 4 municipalities across the province from our research have sort of created those wastewater districts in which local improvement charges essentially are applied for these things. Richmond County had an interesting sort of pilot program in which they would install a private sewer system for residents within a certain geographical area, and then they'd repay it but the resident would assume sort of maintenance of the sewer system after 8 years of municipal oversight. Just a fun fact. Staff have identified 3 potential activities the municipality could engage with to support residents with well and septic systems. The first would be providing education. The second would be a sort of standing offer or preferred rate. And the third would be a financing scheme. Each of these different interventions requires a different amount of staff time, financial dedication, and resource allocation. And all of these impacts would have to be characterized through future staff reports to council. The first bit would be education. Oops, scrolling too far. So this would be sort of the least involved intervention completed by the municipality. Staff could prepare educational material for residents, post it on our website, distribute it through our communication channels, just to make residents aware of what sort of services and resources are available to them to support well and septic upgrades. These could include identifying those provincial funding opportunities, potential federal funding opportunities, best practices for maintenance, upkeep, and replacement of septic and sewer systems, informing residents about various levels of government's legislation and requirements for these things, as well as establishing and maintaining a list of qualified professionals within the municipality that could support them through this, through their well and septic system upgrades. A second intervention potentially would be the creation of a standing offer or preferred rate. The municipality could choose to sort of create a standing offer for common well and septic system parts, pumps, wells, pipes, those sorts of things. Residents could take advantage of the municipal rate, but we wouldn't be providing any direct financial compensation to them. The municipality could also look to pair with other neighboring districts to go in on the standing offer, but that is very tentative. There's been no sorts of formal or informal discussion surrounding those yet. Alternatively, the municipality could work with a local qualified professional to create a preferred rate for municipal residents looking to upgrade well and septic systems. The exact terms of that contract would have to be defined with the provider, but those discussions could be had. It's important to note that from staff's research, no jurisdiction across Canada has used one of these 2 approaches for well and septic system support. The third option would be the creation of a financing program. This could look similar to the Municipal PACE program, providing loans to complete the work for well and septic system upgrades. Staff held some preliminary information gathering discussions with the HRM about their program, and they indicated that there is pretty good uptake, but it was about 20% of somebody's role to sort of carry out this program. Unlike the PACE program, there's no third-party administrator, the Clean Foundation, to manage this for the municipality, so we'd have to look at moving it in-house, allocating it to a staff member to manage if this was an option we were looking at investigating. Wastewater districts would also be a potential option council could look at. However, depending on how wastewater districts are really tied to a local geographical area, so depending on how broad council is interested in applying these sorts of supports to residents, it may not be the most appropriate option. A similar program to Richmond's counties is possible as well. However, it would also require quite a significant expansion to staffing levels and funding, which may not be recommended at this time. There are some funding opportunities available from the FCM. However, staff would have to tweak, or council would have to sort of tweak the options they're looking at, and none of these funding options are guaranteed and would require significant staff time to invest and apply for. Any impacts from any of these chosen interventions would have to be characterized through further reports. Staff aren't prepared at this moment to exactly describe what any of these interventions might mean for our resources, the municipality's financial situation, and staffing levels. But any direction from council, we would be happy to sort of characterize those impacts for you more. The primary alternative to any of these options is maintain the status quo. The municipality is currently not involved with well and septic upgrades, and it could remain that way. However, now that we've sort of identified some educational pieces, some financial opportunities, any incoming requests, we could sort of point residents in that direction. In conclusion, as we all are aware, well and septic systems can pose quite a substantial cost to residents. Both the province and other municipalities have engaged in various interventions to support these costs. There are essentially 4 options available to the municipality moving forward: maintain the status quo, provide education, create a standing offer, or create a financing program. Each option has unique impacts that would have to be characterized through further reports. There is a recommendation up here for your consideration, and I would be happy to answer any questions that may come up. Thank you.
Thank you. First up, Councillor Rhino.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yes, 2 years ago on the campaign trail, that was brought up to me by a young couple who had small children, and they owned a home, and they were struggling because they only had a shallow well. And it's more prevalent, for people that are not hooked up to the serviced area. Since then, I've had numerous people tell me, seniors that have run out of water, shallow wells, cannot like to be able to drill a well, go deeper, and see what they come up, but they just financially couldn't get it, and they couldn't get a loan to help them out. I'd be very interested in have staff come back with a report on this, because as we talked about that solar PACE project, I brought this up, that I think that if you don't have water, you're really up against it. And more so than solar panels or anything else, I know there's a big push to be, environmentally friendly, but you can be environmentally friendly, but if you don't have water, you're in a bad situation. Septic is another issue. I'm not saying it's not high on the list, but to me, water would be the one that I would like to see a report back on. I'd accept a report too if everybody wished on septic as well. But to me, the issue is water, and it's more, like I said, it's prevalent with shallow wells in the non-serviced areas. So I would throw my support in hearing another staff report on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next up, Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we finance a well, so that will become first lien on property?
Yes, a lien would be applied to the property on the municipality's behalf.
So if somebody have a mortgage and have a loan from us, if they default, we're gonna get our money before the bank, or we're gonna be after the bank?
Go ahead, Sue.
So, through the chair, so a couple of things can happen. The bank can, on behalf of their client, pay the lien, especially if it goes to a sheriff's sale. That might happen. Or it's a first lien for the municipality. So if they weren't able to pay, then that might put them in tax sale position.
So we end up getting our money, or was there a chance we're gonna lose that money?
We would.
Before the bank. So if the bank sold it, we are first to get the money, then they get whatever.
Correct, yes.
Okay, my second question. Most of the people who apply, they're not gonna, they for sure cannot apply for a loan from the bank. So are we gonna be, I think it's gonna take a lot of staff work to decide if those people can afford or not that loan. And one more thing, if they end up paying their mortgage and not being able to pay their taxes, that loan, are we gonna trigger a sheriff sale automatically, or we gonna work with them for many years? Because that's very concerning for me. Because if somebody cannot afford a well or doesn't have the income to go for a loan from the bank, and we're gonna open it to everybody, that's gonna put a lot of people, especially the people that don't do financing right, they're gonna be taking money and whatever happened after. So it's very important to look at the financial situation of those people too. Because a lot of people, they go for the money because it's there, but when it's come to pay it, it's gonna be hard on them to pay it. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. So absolutely, we appreciate that. Most people who are going to apply for a loan, if this goes forward and council decides that they want to entertain this, they would have financial hardship. We would understand that. It would be no different than anything else. We would work with them. Our collection officer would work with them to ensure that they're keeping on track, that they're able to pay the loan as we go through. It would be on their their tax bill annually, similar to a local improvement paving loan. And it would be over probably like a 10-year period. And we would work with all of those people regularly to make sure that they're on track. And there's payment arrangement options. There's lots of tools that we have now that council has in place that we could assure that someone who, does need assistance with a well or a septic system, that we can work with them and help them with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Musa. Next up is Councilor McPhee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to staff, I was wondering if there's going to be any financial limits for people to ask for the loan or apply for the loan, because I know that there are many people around the area or my district that would like to have drilled wells, can't do it because of the financial constraints. It's going to be $10,000 or more. And also with septic, anybody who's worked with transportation knows if you go do ditching in the rural area, you're going to find sewage in the ditch. So it's very important that we improve the septic system. So would there be financial limits, household financial thresholds?
So through the chair, that'd be sort of up to council to define what the limit they'd be comfortable with. Most other jurisdictions cap it at $10,000. Halifax caps it at $20,000 per loan. Be sort of your decision.
Yes, I was thinking more, would there be a limit on the household income, that if you made $100,000 you wouldn't be able to apply, but if you made $40,000 you would, or something like that?
Again, that'd be sort of a decision of council to make. And we could also characterize those through further reports.
Yeah, I would hope there's no limits, because I think we want to encourage people to drill a well, or especially put in a septic system. Yes. So.
Is that all, Council?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is the warden.
Yes, thank you. I think the discussion thus far has all centered around one option here, and that is the loan similar to the PACE program for wells and septics. And if we were going to do so, I have no problem with the education part as well. But if we're going to look at something like this, all good questions that have been asked. I agree with Councillor McPhee that there are lots of places that folks could probably pay the money back over 10 years, but they can't get approved to get a loan to do it in the first place. That's why we have a lot of young people in particular, and a lot of folks that don't own their own homes. They're paying as much or more in rent as they would be paying for a mortgage payment, but they can't get ahead enough to get that down payment and to get started. And if we had something like this in place, the reports would have to cover it, but I would see it covering, perhaps couple A can afford a mini home, and they have a lot that they could put it on. But when it comes to that extra $20,000 to put a well and a sewer in, everything comes to a grinding halt. But they can afford to make the payments on it. So I'd certainly like myself to look at a program similar to that. I think it's low risk to the municipality, very low risk. It's a bill on your taxes, the same as in areas for paving projects and that. We don't go income test those folks. We just say, this is how much it's gonna be, the road is gonna be paved, whether it be by petition or whether it be by local improvement. And we put the amount on the bill, and we put it against their taxes. So I'm not too hung up on staff having to income test everybody who wanted to participate in the plan, because we don't do that for other things, for local improvements and whatnot. So I would be interested, and I understand that HRM estimates 20% of a full-time position to administer this. So whether that would be the same here or not, it's hard to say, but that would be the cost to the municipality, would be the 20%. You know, we'd have to reallocate someone's time to do that, or we'd have to figure that out. What that would look like, I think we need more information to find out. So I would move that staff be directed to pursue more information on the loans program for wells and septic systems similar to the PACE program.
Moved and seconded by Councilor Rhino. Any discussion? Question on the motion. We'll go to the vote. Oh, are you, sorry, Councilor Rhino?
Now, it was on before the motion.
You were on before the motion, yes.
Just fully respecting what concerns are that have been voiced in this discussion around the table. It is my expectation that those would come out within a report back to council from staff. You know, so, you know, with Councillor Moose's concerns and Councillor McPhee's and everyone else, you know, that would be my expectation, that those would be taken into account and brought back in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rhino. And you reminded me I wanted to speak, and it is towards the motion, so I'm going to pass the chair to the warden. Full support of the motion. The one thing I would like to see in the report is the cost of the average septic system for both a full lot size and an undersized lot, as well as lots adjoining to water courses. Because when we're talking about septics and people need to repair their septics, the most important ones are ones that are going to be near water courses that can have drastic effect on drinking water and the environment. So, and as well, the average cost of drilling a well in different regions of the municipality. We are in a municipality that has many different soil types, and a well in one area might only have to be 60 feet deep. In some areas, you're 400 feet deep. So having the higher and lower end cost of those wells will definitely allow council to frame it a lot better as we go to determine what type of loan program, if we approve a loan program, what those limits are going to be. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, seeing nobody else, I will now go to the vote because question has been called. And all the votes are in, and it is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Next, I'll be looking for a motion to go in camera to discuss a land and legal issue. Moved and seconded. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councilor Musa. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we are moving into camera and we will wait. Give me the heads up when we're good, Shirley. Good? All right, I'd like to report that we met in camera to discuss a legal and land issue, and there are no motions coming forward as a result of that meeting. This brings us to the end of Corporate Residential Services Committee. I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn and then reconvene in Parks and Recreation Culture afterwards. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned to move to Parks and Rec.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to call this portion of the Executive Committee of Parks, Recreation, and Culture to order. First item of business will be the approval of the minutes, June 21st, 2022. What is your wish? Moved by Councilor Green, seconded by Deputy Warden. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary of mind, motion is carried. First up will be 2023 volunteer recognition date, time, and location. Corinne, you're taking that one?
Don't come up, Sharon.
All right. So this report's bringing forward the recommendation for the location and the date of the 2023 volunteer recognition. So each year, council hosts an awards dinner for volunteer recognition that recognizes our community volunteers.
If I could interrupt, Corinne, could you point that
Oh, sorry.
towards yourself?
Is that
Thank you.
better? All right, so the awards dinner is held annually to recognize the volunteers in our area, and we also host the Long Service Firefighter Awards at the same time. In 2020 and 2021, the event was scheduled at the Uniacke Legion, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, we're unable to host an in-person event. In 2022, we were scheduled to host the event at the Uniacke Legion, but due to issues with the cooking appliances, the event was relocated to the Upper Rawdon Community Hall. So for a recommendation for 2023, we're recommending to host the awards at the Mount Uniacke Legion, and we're recommending to host them during the National Volunteer Week, April 21st, 2023.
All right, so that is the report. The first up, Councilor Green.
I would move the recommended motion. Second.
Moved by Councilor Green, I didn't catch who seconded. Second by Councilor Musa. Any conversation or question around that?
Question.
Question has been called, and seeing no speakers asked to speak, we'll go to the vote. And then the votes are in and it's passed unanimously. Next item of business would be Schumannacity River Park funding request. Ms. Tapper, you're taking that one?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chair. So this funding request outlined is really for the demolition of the stage and washroom structure that is currently at the Schumannacity River Park. There was a fire on October 4th, and it did significantly damage the stage structure, and that impacted the washroom as well because they are connected. There was a report planned previously for November, and that is still coming forward, and that was actually to give council an overview of where the overall revitalization project is. It was also going to address the Schumannacity Hall subdivision and then the Lions Den lease, so that will be coming forward. So this report really is specific to the demolition and costs associated with that. So the municipality did assume ownership of the Schumannacity River Park in early 2022 and are currently undergoing a revitalization project that includes capital upgrades with a playground that has accessible features. We have paved pathways, there's an accessible fishing area, and there has been the installation of covered picnic shelters. As previously mentioned, there was a fire on October 4th that significantly damaged both structures as they are connected, and it does require demolition because of liability to the existing structure. The existing ball field lights that are on site do work, but the electrical for those ball field lights was housed within the structure. So we are proposing moving the electrical once the building is demolished so that user groups can still use those lights. The fencing cost, and that then the demolition of the structure and the electrical panel, we're actually proposing grouping that together in this funding request because the fencing cost, so once the building is demolished, we'd like to close in the ball field itself so there's no vehicular access to the ball field. So the fencing cost is estimated to be at $7,000, and we feel we can actually put that under the revitalization cost and the funding that we've received, whereas the demolition and the reinstatement of the electrical panel is not something that we could put under that revitalization project. There are no there's operating funds in the parks budget, but we didn't account for that, and if we were to do that work, then that could take away from other work we have planned from the operations budget. So we are requesting funding from council, either from year-end surplus or from the Parks and Trails Reserve. Current balance of the Parks and Trail Reserve is $74,000. And then from an insurance perspective, there was insurance on the overall site. The insurance was for demolition purposes only, and the deductible for that was $25,000. So the $13,000 that we're requesting comes in well under the deductible for that. So the recommended motion for this is actually Parks Rec and Culture Committee recommends that council approve funding the estimated cost up to $13,000 of the building structure demolition and electrical repairs to move the ball field light panel from the 2022-2023 year-end general tax rate surplus or Parks and Trail Reserve. And there is no alternative recommended motion at this time. Again, due to the liability piece, we're not looking at keeping the structure in place. So I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Tabor. First up for discussion, Warden Rolston.
Yes, thank you. I'm certainly supportive of doing what we have to do. But just on the general insurance piece, I do have some concerns because we don't carry insurance on assets that come into our hands beyond demolition insurance in some places. And I go back to a number of years ago when the Walton Wharf was destroyed and we had no insurance there to do anything. And we have something similar here, although on a smaller scale, albeit. And I guess having become a little more familiar with insurance than I ever wanted to be in this past year, I still am having trouble understanding why we wouldn't put some type of replacement, rebuilding, or something insurance on things regardless of how short a time we plan to own them. And I know staff have tried to explain this to me, and I don't really still quite understand it. Thank you.
Ms. Tabor, would you like to respond to that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there has been some internal discussion regarding that, and I know the CEO did indicate that risk management is a priority within the current strategic plan, and insurance does fall under that. And I believe she felt that was definitely something on her radar, and she is open to having that conversation. For this particular site, the risk assessment at the time, as indicated in the report, was, as to the warden's point, on immediate operational needs, and it was based on the hall. I don't think anyone anticipated that this structure or the washroom building would unfortunately be damaged this extensively due to fire. And it's certainly something that, as the playground goes in, there would be plans to actually look at the insurance for that site once the playground was installed. So I guess my point to that end is that it's on the CAO's radar, and this is something that will be coming up, just it isn't at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Tapper. Are you satisfied with that?
I'd like to just.
Yeah, go ahead. You still have the floor.
And this event has happened, this event is done, and that's fine, but I do think it's a discussion that I'm happy to hear it's on the CAO's radar, and I think it's a discussion that we should probably have some part of at some point in time too, as council. And I would say I'd rather do that sooner rather than later, because no one ever anticipates that they're going to have an event, be it a fire or otherwise, destroy their property. And when it happens, I can tell you firsthand, it's awful. It's dreadful. It's unimaginable. And anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Next up, Councillor Eli Musa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to add up to the warden comments, what is our deductible?
Through the chair, it's $25,000.
So we're gonna pay $13,000 and end up with nothing that we had before. So why don't we rebuild, and whatever cost over, we deduct it $23,000. At least we have a structure over there. And when you spend like $300,000 on a building and on a park, I think spending an extra $10,000 to have everything the way it was, I think it's worth it.
Through the chair, the current condition of the washroom building was actually poor. So it was presently closed, and we had actually installed portable washrooms there for user groups on site. So the washroom itself wasn't being used, and it wasn't necessarily accessible to park users. The stage was used, I believe, for one event this summer. So, we don't have it necessarily within the revitalization project that the washroom will be replaced at this time. Due to the fire and the previously planned report, likely there will be some component of the report coming in November that does address that and/or look at what future options would be.
Okay.
For now, it's really just about getting the risk and liability off the table by demolishing the structure.
So I'm not very familiar with the site, so.
I can actually scroll down. I do have
If you
pictures
don't,
within the report. Yep.
if you don't think it's necessary to rebuild, I agree 100%. But if there's something that we could use, like I don't know how much the people use that park or something, that's why.
And through the chair, we would also reference the open space master plan and look at what amenities we actually have within parks. Our tourism sites in Dawson Dowell are the only locations that have washrooms. Our other parks, I believe Wickwire has sort of an outdoor type outhouse kind of washroom, to be frank. But a lot of our other park sites don't actually have washroom amenities, and that's something that we may look at for future reiterations of the open space master plan, but it's not there presently.
Thank you.
That all, Councillor Musa?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Councillor Green.
I would move your recommended motion.
Well, I think you're gonna have to bring the motion back up. I think you have to be more specific, because there's two avenues there which to bring funding from.
There's two avenues there, but it doesn't state pick one or the other. Absolutely. Mr. Chair. If we will take it from your general tax rate surplus or parks and trails, as you call them, in the motion, I believe. Whichever one is the best option, I believe, is what they're going to do.
Well, would it be right to single one out on that? CAO, or acting CAO?
Thank you, through the chair. Actually, I would recommend that we use year-end surplus if it's available at year-end. Otherwise, we would take it from the reserve.
Okay, I will include that in the motion, Mr. Chair, that we're to take from year-end general rate surplus if available. If not, it will come from Parks and Trails reserve.
That is clarification. And I have a seconder on that. So it was moved by Councillor Green, seconded by the Deputy Warden. On before the motion was made, Councillor Michael Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to staff, to kind of build on what the warden said, I would like to see before budget time, because any change in our insurance is going to affect budget. I would like to see a report back outlining the cost associated with increasing our insurance to cover replacement cost of key and vital things. Like, even though a lot of our other parks don't have washrooms, most ball fields that want to host any type of tournament or organization, they are required to have some sort of washroom facilities and storage facilities. And we've heard multiple times from people in the Schumannacity area that they are looking to re-engage the ball in that area. So I know it's not part of the master plan now. However, we really got to look and protect our other assets moving forward. We pay a high deductible. I believe $25,000 is quite a large deductible. I'd just like to see us ensure that this doesn't happen anywhere else in any other part of the municipality, that this comes back to us in a report before budget, so at budget we can make some decisions. Thank you.
Councillor Perry, I would probably suggest after we deal with the motion that's on the floor that you bring forth another motion directing staff to bring that report, or I could, or not just, could be anybody here that could ask for that so as well. Is that all, Councillor Perry?
That's all at this time.
Before the motion was made, Warden Morrison.
Thank you. I'd just like to clarify and make sure everyone understands that the $25,000 deductible is a deductible only towards the cost of demolishing the structure. There is no insurance to replace or rebuild or repair the structure. That deductible is against the cost of demolition, which is why staff are recommending the $13,000 because it's less than the deductible. And I just think there might have been some confusion there, and hence my wanting to look at the insurance. So just wanted to throw that bit of clarification out there.
Is that all, Warden? Thank you. Now, to the motion. No one wants to speak to the motion? Question has been called on the motion. We'll go to the vote. And the vote is in, and it's passed unanimously. Councillor Michael Perry, you've asked, just hold it, now get your mic on there.
Sorry.
There you go.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that staff bring back a report on insurance for municipal assets throughout the municipality, options for replacement cost, and different insurance options moving forward before next budget.
Seconded.
Duly moved and seconded. Duly moved by Councillor Perry, seconded by Councillor Green. Any comment or discussion on that motion? Seeing no one to speak, we'll go to the vote. The vote is in and is passed unanimously. Warden Ralston.
Just before I forget, folks, I just wanted to officially notify council that after we came back from break, I had received regrets from Councillor Eisner.
Thank you, Warden. All right, Councillor Green.
Yes, I'm just going to give regrets for the afternoon. I have a dentist appointment at 2:15. So leaving at lunch.
May the pain be with you. Oh,
No pain, it's just one of those.
oh, all right. And The next order of business would be an in-camera session to discuss a contractual issue. We'll have to move to go in camera. Moved by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Green. We move in camera to discuss contractual issue. All those in favor? Contrary of mind? Motion is carried. We'll give it a few minutes to lock ourselves down. I tell you, there's a reason you put me here.
That's fine, yeah. You want to hand it to me and I'll give it. Sweet.
Give me the thumbs.
taking the time so we could deal with this where I'm going to be away. I know it cut into lunchtime significantly. I really appreciate your support. You're paying for lunch today? You're paying for lunch. Everybody gets a small fry.
Well, just hold on now, We're good? We're good there, ma'am? All right. I'd just like to report, we met in camera to discuss a contractual issue. Seeing no other item on the agenda of Parks, Recreation, Culture, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment to go to lunch.
So move.
Moved by Councillor Perry, seconded by Councillor Hibb. All those in favor? Contrary of mine, there better not be any.